Di Foster, we've been joking almost that these are like live coaching sessions, these episodes in Accidental Business Owners. Like, how would you actually start a real coaching session? Or have these been real coaching sessions?
Have we been joking?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, I sort of said, I think way back on episode 1, I said, live mics at a coaching session, normally they're behind closed doors, but I don't imagine your coaching sessions have live mics, and they probably are behind closed doors.
They are.
But how would we do one? If one was to sit in a coaching session with Di Foster?
I'm trying to decide whether these sessions are actually helping my business or hindering it, because I have a few people now going, I never want to speak to you. So anyway, let's just assume they're helping, and we'll just go with it.
They're helping me big time.
Awesome. That's all that counts.
I'm still on the fence.
Yeah. I would start by saying what's top of mind. Where are you at? What's been going on?
Heaps.
Then.
I think the last time we caught up with you in person, I was not fully working on the business.
Yeah.
And as a result of that day with you, I think I almost then and there made a decision like, I'm trying to remember the words. It was like, what was rattling around in my head at the end of it was, I'm the problem, but I'm also the solution.
Yeah.
It was like, Eames drowning. I'm on the sidelines going, I can't go in because I'm going to add to that drown without realizing that, actually I can just take some of that stuff off and do it, and then we move forward together. So it's been a really empowering month or so. And I think like confidence-wise as well, after talking through like some of the stuff around why haven't you done it yet?
Yeah.
Like even just talking that out, like a facilitated conversation, was really beneficial. And we kind of joked about like, why don't we just talk about like this more often when we're together? But like, I almost feel like we actually do need a third party to bounce stuff off rather than going direct.
Oh, it would be too intense if you spoke like you do with me all the time. Like that would be intense. That would be a lot.
Yeah. So to round it out, I think after the week following your last trip to Hamilton, I was we might not have had to record that week, but I was in our office almost Monday to Friday. And I remember the first day driving home, and I think I said this to Steve the next day, being like, yesterday was the first day I actually felt like I was working on the business.
Yeah.
And it was like a light bulb kind of a moment. And then I don't know whether, I'm telling your story here, whether you felt like a relief of even just seeing me replying to things or doing things or just chatting about things and setting Trello boards up and all sorts of shit.
Yeah, it's been 4 weeks, I think, of us working together every day. And you speak to what's top of mind. Top of mind for me is our relationship.
You're breaking up with me. Bringing me to a public place.
I do remember you saying that, and I felt really good because, like I said in a few earlier episodes, I had been drowning, and when you came on strong, and you took all the financials and you took stuff off, and I was like, I can breathe.
Yeah.
This is so good. And we had an awesome first week. Like, we're in this office and it's like Maid is amazing and everything was going really good.
And then week 2.
No, it still is going really good. But I think what's top of mind for me is how we manage our relationship, because as we get deeper into it, I'm realizing we are interlocked with everything. We're the talent, but we're also the business owners, and every day we're doing some pretty intense stuff together. Yeah. And it's like we are MCing together, and we might be doing a reflections together, and we're doing records, and we're doing accidental business owners, and we're having meetings with our accountant and you, and it's just like, fuck, I love this guy, he's my best mate, but anyone you spend that much time with, you're going to create friction.
Yeah, why do you think I do the commentary gigs overseas? It's to give us both a break.
But I think the best example of this is yesterday. We had a podcast in Auckland. We were both leaving from the same place. We were both going to the same place. We were both coming back home. We took separate cars.
Perfect.
And it's I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks in a row now that we've done it. And I think we both just know that actually we do need to work to create space for ourselves. And a car ride is, I really treasure that alone time in the car. And I know he does too. So it's kind of like, figuring out how we stay best mates through this and how we stay business owners and how we keep the magic alive for ambassadors and this and the podcast is, I think, going to be perhaps our greatest challenge.
And one thing I remember saying to you in the first couple of sessions that we met was about growing your individual personal brands, for the reason of it will be good for you to speak alone. It'll be good for you to, to be your own people and not like joint at the hips all the time. And
especially with his hips.
Like that one. Arthritis is no joke, right?
Yeah. Oh dear. It's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot. It's a lot to be working with someone, all the time, and the intenseness of the work that you do in interviewing people, is a lot. And I think one of the things that, in reflecting on what you said, Steve, about Seamus taking over this bit and this bit, is we haven't gone back and together, we haven't gone back and done the planning so that we really split out the projects. And I think that's going to be really important, is so that there's areas of the business that you're in charge of and there's areas that you're in charge of, and then there's the bits that you do together. And I think that even just, the way in which you work in the office together and things like that will become quite important.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about he's so funny, man. You're so funny. There was like a throwaway line I said maybe week 2 or week 3 where I was like just working away and I sort of popped up, was like, do you ever drink any water? He's like, yeah, of course I do. And I was like, okay, cool. I just never ever see you drink any water. Carried on with what I was doing. And then the other day because I take micro breaks. If I have a coffee, and it's a dangerous game at Made because there's lots of options. So if I have a coffee, I physically leave the desk and I'll go and I'll sit down and I'll have have the dine-in coffee at Soul Bowl. Shout out Soul Bowl. And I was sitting there and then he come walking past on the street and I clocked him. I was like, oh, what's this guy doing? And he looked at me like a deer in headlights, carried on, and then I carried on and then went back to the office. He came up and he had a big bottle of water, and I was like, he goes, yeah, someone said that I didn't drink any water, so I gotta be hydrated. But like those little things, it's just so funny.
It's funny understanding. I'm really defensive if someone says something straight away, and I'm like, no. But then the whole fuck yeah, I don't drink water.
That's literally what my son's like. He's really defensive to start with, and they're like, actually, there's some truth to that.
No, it was good. It was like the notebook as well. That was brilliant. Oh, because I have a notebook.
Yes.
I have this notebook all the time, and he come in with a notebook the other day, and I was like, oh man, sick notebook. And then you left your laptop at work the other night, I saw too, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah,
overnight.
Yeah, I guess it's a decision to leave work at work, and I like that. I like that we've got a space to do that with. But you spend so much time with someone, and it's like Shay will bring his notepad. So we have a lot of coffees now because people come and they want to have meetings about different things, and Shay will have his notepad and he'll just be writing notes the whole meeting. And it I'm like, why are you writing this? You're never going to use these again. But he's not making, so he's writing away. And I'm kind of making eye contact and talking to the guy. And he's just out there, I'm like, fuck, man, come and join me.
Oh, no, man. I just always make little notes about little things and little connections. Yeah, it's interesting. So I didn't realize it pissed you off so much.
What does, yeah. I guess
welcome to Marriage Gardens.
The art of the little peculiarities of our personalities just get magnified. And I don't want to put a negative lens on it. Everything is going great. It's just I'm aware,
of my notes.
Of your note taking.
I'm aware of if this thing goes for how long I hope it does, that it's something to be mindful of.
Yeah, I think little things. I'm working out as I go as well, but a little work from home day every now and again is quite useful for that separation, because it is you're right, man. And it is intense. What we do is intense. So the drive home in complete silence is quite nice from Auckland, because that's an hour and a half of just unplug, don't do anything. The occasional work from home is good because then you're just away from kind of each other's space, and Those kind of getting that balance of work and private life is kind of critical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I take this in a different direction?
You can do anything you want.
Because you're part of
I'll cut it.
because you're part of this too, right?
Yeah.
So I know you're doing the coaching, but if I asked you what's top of mind and you could...
Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Well, yes. What's top of mind for you?
Top of mind for me is that I messaged Seamus 14 days ago and he said to me, I'll come back to you next week, and I haven't heard from him.
I set up a Trello board.
Yeah, but, you still haven't updated the things that I asked you about. So, it's just something I'm noticing. Anyway, I'll actually answer your question. What's top of mind for me personally? Yeah, I'll look at my notes. Seamus gets note envy. He likes to...
I do. I'm always interested in what other people are writing down.
What's top of mind for me is I don't know. I can't even remember what date my interview with you guys was with Between Two Beers.
That's right.
Is it like no?
It's correct.
No, I was trying to think how many weeks ago was it? Is it like 6 weeks ago?
About that, yep.
Yeah, so I would have to say that my life has significantly changed in that time, and I think the last episode it was all about Seamus being right. Well, this one's all about Steve being right. He told me, but and I did take a lot of action, but mentally I'm not sure I could have prepared myself any better. So life has changed significantly for me, and I'm loving every single minute of it.
Sorry, just jump in. Because people had listened to your episode and they
100%
have reached out.
100%. Yeah. Okay. So speaking gigs and coaching. And so I've purposely directed people into just a bit of a clarity session, which is only, a small sort of taster, so that I don't completely overwhelm myself with clients. And so, I've been really, really happy with how I've managed that. And I was really looking forward to a week off, and then we released Business in Between. So, it continues. So to answer your question, what's top of mind for me personally and my business is around what's sustainable for me. So I'm really clear on what my goals are, but I'm also really clear that I have a few non-negotiables. And so I've been re-looking at my life and going, actually, how do I keep working at this pace, or how do I not work at this pace and work at something that's a little bit more sustainable? And I wouldn't suggest that I've quite got the answer yet, but I've certainly got the questions, because I know that I need to look after myself.
Is it a case of there's just a rush of opportunities that have been thrown at you in the last 4 weeks?
Yeah, and it's that thing, we talked about sharpening our axe, and while you're sharpening your axe, you really, really want to get to that place where it's all happening and people want to talk to you. And then when it happens, you don't want to lose any one of those opportunities, and you put a lot of pressure on yourself. And I think that I've put a lot of pressure on myself to go, it might, next week it'll all stop. And and I just have to make the most of every single opportunity. When now in this last week, I've gone, actually, it's okay if I breathe. Actually, it's more than okay if I take time out and look after myself. Actually, it's the right place at the right time, and I don't need to hustle the shit out of it. I can just be who I am, show up as myself, and that will always be enough.
Can I ask you a question?
Why do people ask that?
That's sort of just how we preface everything.
May I ask a question? You may always ask a question.
Okay. You appear to me as, and from the first meeting, someone who had the answers. You were in control. You knew what I needed to do. You seemed really secure. Do you feel, and I know that you've blown up since the podcast and you've got all these people and some really impressive high-performing clients wanting to work with you. Do you ever have doubt that you're not good enough for what they want, or that you can't do the job that they need you to do?
Every time I get a new client, I go, I wonder why they're coming to see me. I literally think that. I go, I wonder why they're coming to see me. I just can't understand why they would, pay the money they do just to have a chat that I would probably, if you're my best friend, you get access to no matter what, Having said that, my best friends do not take advantage of it, because that would be a lot.
Yeah.
So I wonder. And I think it's because it's not that I have doubts about myself. That's not what it is. It's a curiosity of when you get really high performing people that see something in you that something's telling them that they need to have a chat with me, because most people, when they speak to me, they go, look, I shouldn't complain about anything. Everything's going really well, but there's some stuff that's not quite right and I don't want to be in this position in a year's time. And so I think it's more of a curious question for me. It's more around the fact of, I wonder what's going on. I wonder, because I get to pull back the curtains and I get to speak to people and really nail in on their deepest thinking and their deepest desires and where they want to go in life and their big, hairy, audacious goals. And then I get to talk about what's stopping them in the story they're telling themselves, and I get to talk to them about the trauma or the events that have happened in their life. And so that is a hugely privileged position from my point. And I know that I do business coaching, but I think one of the things that I've tried to make quite clear is that I coach the people, so the person is not off limits, if that makes sense. And so I just think it's a hugely privileged position that I'm in, and I would hate to ever go in going, well, I know what I'm doing and it's all good and I just need to turn up and I'm the shit. The greatest thing anybody can ever give you is time. And so I don't care whether it's one-on-one or whether it's I'm talking to 1,000 people. I am so grateful that I have their time and attention that I do not want to waste it.
So with that in mind, you flicked a voice note to me the other day. I think it was on the weekend. Is that your little way of checking up on how things are going?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm understanding a little bit more now as you speak as to the importance of giving someone your time.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing, because I'm thinking about we've sort of started on Saturdays to try and be off the tools.
Yep.
To have a bit of separation between the intense period of Monday to Friday. Sunday's almost kind of like an admin day to prepare for the week to come. So yeah, trying to get a little bit of balance in the week. I mean, the week still, when you talk about it like that, is still very lopsided because it's a 6-to-1.
Yeah,
that's a 6-to-1 ratio. But yeah, it's that whole checking in and seeing how things are going, because you're sitting on the sidelines with you can see behind the curtain about what's happening, and I just wondered where that curiosity came from.
I think it's my way of reaching out to people that don't naturally take up my time and attention. I think that we've talked about a few things, and, I've been thinking about you in terms of, I wonder where you're at with this, and you haven't come back and told me that you've done this. And it's my way of, if somebody pops into my head a couple of times during the week, then I just like to reach out and go, hey, how's it going? And, I'm very rarely off point. I'm very really off point.
Yeah. Was that around the football and maybe some of the identity stuff of giving that away, which I hadn't done until this morning?
Yeah, that would be the one.
Didn't you? Well, I had and I hadn't. So the story I was telling myself was that the key person was on leave for 2 weeks, and I couldn't do that until they were back, because I respected their position and I wanted to do that. They are back now.
They were back on the 15th of July.
They were back on the 15th of July, you're right.
I gave you a week and you still hadn't told me, so I was checking up.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And then I've been juggling plates still and running fire, and then I got a message yesterday are you available? And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'd written the letter, I'd done everything, why hadn't I sent it? And there was a little bit of the identity kind of theft, fear of missing out. Fear is one thing of being like, what are they going to think? And it was crazy. I got Doc to read over the letter and does this make sense? She's like, yeah, that's a really well logicked, very clear, very respectful way of cutting that cord. And then she kept saying, have you sent it? Have you sent it? Have you sent it? The people at Soul Bowl where I have coffee, have you sent it? Have you sent it? Have you sent it? I'm like,
this is fucking interesting. This is so interesting, because to give that a little bit of context, Shay's been working for a football company doing, 20 hours a week, right?
Yeah, 20.
And part of this conversation we had in the last batch was, I'm all in on the company, and, I'm all in on the business, and he's been working full time, but still every morning he's been dialing into this.
Every Monday.
This meeting for an hour, and it's kind of like pushing back our meeting. And I haven't wanted to, because I had been on him so much about like quitting, I just assumed he'd done it, and I didn't want to like raise it with you to see if you'd done. I didn't want to ask you again because I just assumed it had been done.
Yeah.
And now I'm here and it's just
It's crazy, yeah.
And it is crazy, but it goes back to episode 3 or 4 where you talk about, you know, some of the past experiences and therefore the story that you've been telling yourself. And so when that happens, you just need to flick in, yeah, but if I'm not doing this, then what am I missing out on?
Yeah.
And so that's just a little bit of a, you know, because I remember when we had our meeting a month ago, you said to me beforehand, Di, like he's dragging the chain. And I was like, just be patient, you know, and I knew that a month ago we'd flipped the switch and everything was going in the right direction. And that's why I reached out 2 weeks ago. I was like, I know they're back. I didn't say that to you though, because, you know, you're a slippery wee thing. So, you know, I just quietly go, hi. And you're like, oh yeah, I'll come back to you next week. You didn't. Just in case you wondered I didn't notice, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because the spectre of Di Foster coming to town was enough to be like, fuck, I need to do this
this morning.
Yeah, like I need to, I need to do it. And it's like, it's so, oh God, it's such a, it's so annoying having this on mic. But it's
the
good.
lesson from it though is around one of the bits of the goal of you two is that you're opposites, you know, like you complement each other. So I think it's important that you're aware of that story that you've told yourself about the past and all of the things that carries. And it's really important, Steve, that you're aware of that because we do need to make sure that we do follow up, you know, and go, actually, is it done? Because old slippery Seamus over here will just go,
keep spinning that plate slower and slower and slower. And it's funny, like I've spun it so slow that rather than addressing it earlier on the 15th, it's like, hey, are you actually doing anything now? So I've stopped doing everything, but like just not actually gone, oh, guys, I'm not doing anything anymore. And that's... So for all the water and the coffee breaks and all the other stuff, there's still some pretty big chunks to resolve and work through.
I think that's the point, though, is that it's never perfect.
Yeah,
you
true
know,
story.
And, you know, like I just said before around, you know, I'm just working on my balance. You know, there is no point of balance. There is no point that everything's perfect. It's like we sprint and then we have to know how to rest and recover. You know, it's those recovery moments and the greater self-awareness that I think is the gold in making things sustainable going forward.
Yeah, on balance, I've started swimming every morning and I've noticed such a difference. And I'd been missing that part, and that gives me balance because it gives me an hour in the morning of my own time, which I've kind of claimed back, and going to bed earlier.
Nice.
And I am aware that when you have a million things to do, there is no, you know, you could just work all day. And the stuff I'm thinking right now, shit, there's so much I've got to do over the next week before the speaking gig in Invercargill. It can never stop. So it's like Shay and I spoke about having Saturday off the tools. We're not going to, well, we haven't actually spoken about this, but
just sort of happened.
We're not going to communicate on Saturdays. We're not going to do anything on Saturdays. Sunday, a little bit, hopefully. But that sort of turns into a lot. But it's creating that balance, I guess. And I've found the exercise has been a missing important part. And
I think the lesson here is that everybody's balance looks different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, I don't even like the word life, you know, work-life balance. It's just life, and it's whatever works for you. Because I know that over the last 6 weeks, I have doubled down. Like I've been working really, really hard, and I've also got 2 contractors. I've got an EA and I've got a social skill, and that has just been amazing. And going forward, that relieves some of that pressure. But balance for everybody looks different. And I think that, Seamus, you said that you always get up and go and have a coffee away from your desk. Like that's really important for you. And I think that some of those disciplines, not just on a weekly basis, but on a daily basis, really shift, because balance is a lot about controlling your energy. And so if you go through a day and you work 10 hours and you're really, really knackered by the end of the day, you haven't controlled your energy. So by interrupting your day, by going for a walk at the park and just getting some fresh air and, God forbid, drinking water.
No, it's good. You're good on that. It's actually me that's dragging the chain on that now. I don't drink any water.
You've got to find your own rhythm and your own balance as to what that looks like for you. And I know that one thing that I learnt last weekend when I was with Dave Wood was that distinction between relaxation and recovery. So relaxation is sitting there on your phone scrolling or watching Netflix or doing something like that, but actually recovery is what we need. So when we get shit done, we actually need the recovery, which is, meditation, hot, cold stuff, movement, nature, some social connection, all of that stuff is like active recovery that regulates our system better, and then we can go again, so instead of just sort of vegging out, it's like actually taking a greater responsibility on a daily basis. And in some respects, I almost get it down to a 2-hourly basis. Every 2 hours, what am I doing? Especially when, if I've got a lot of client-facing work, like over the last 6 weeks, I've figured out how much time I can do client-facing work before it's too much. And I thought I knew it, but then when you do it back to back for 5 days a week, and then sometimes when I've got some overseas ones I slip on and do them on a Sunday, it's like actually I've got a new appreciation of how much front facing work I can do.
Like, this isn't new, right? Like, everyone knows this. I think the hardest thing is actually like prioritizing it, right? Like implementing it in your, business owners listening to this, that you need balance, and you need these breaks, and you need to do activity, but it's kind of like what actually like sets the fire up your bum? That's not an analogy.
No.
Nah. What actually makes? I was going to go and pull the trigger, but then I was like,
I think it's light a fire under your bum.
Under your bum.
Yeah. You do not set a fire up someone's bum, whatever you do.
But what makes people actually do it? Do they have to hit rock bottom? Do they have to burn out to do it?
Preferably don't burn out, because the lesson here is that if you burn out, it's very difficult to get back to that same performance level again because you're burnt out. So the whole idea is, you learnt a new word last week, is oscillation. So it's like you go and then you active relax, you go again. And then, so what happens is that you actually get to a far higher place than if you just go, burn out. So the idea is that within a day, it's go, recover, because every stress is not the problem. The way we think about stress is the problem, and the fact that we don't recover from these high intensity periods of work is the problem. So, as I said before, I think I had 14 days last time where I'd just gone, and I knew because of my awareness that it was like, I'm getting to the end of my rope. It's like my body's going to start telling me I've had enough, and it did. Like I was sick for a bit, and I was like, how am I going to work this out? So a couple of things. You've asked a very specific question. The first thing to understand is that everybody's balance, for want of a better word, or everybody's between stress and recovery is their own. You two should not do it the same. You should figure out what works for you. That's the first point, is knowing that you've got to figure it out yourself. There is no blueprint. And I think what we want to go, well, if I do this, this and this, then I'm going to be sweet. Well, actually, at the moment, I need a far greater need for nature because my work is more intense than it's ever been. So my recovery things have to be way more on point to balance up the work that I'm doing. And then the other thing I'd say specifically around your question is we don't do them for a lot of reasons. We don't do them because it's easier to relax and vegetate in front of Netflix. We don't do them because our identity is different. We don't do them because we intentionally don't know where we want to go. We don't do them because of the story we're telling ourselves about the events that have happened in the past. We don't do them because based on those stories we have some interesting beliefs. We don't do them because the thoughts that we have from those beliefs are telling us that we've worked really hard and we deserve to watch Netflix for 4 hours. So, you know, the self-awareness part of this is key, I think.
There's a lot of wisdom rattling around in that brain of yours, eh, Di? How do you get any rest with all that stuff?
And the one thing I'd say is knowing that you need to do it and doing it is the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah,
Mic drop.
that's good, though.
Thanks for coming.
Can see what they pay you the big buck.
I'll send you the bill.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's a really good way to finish. Shay, do you want to wrap us up?
No. We haven't wrapped any of these up, so we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
See ya.